Hello, Bowden and Drake Dees. How you doing today?
The Jets beat the Cowboys.
Okay. All right.
Well.
Oh, God.
Well.
Don't look at him.
If it isn't my favorite Patriots and Raiders fans, the Jets are back. Most handsome quarterback in the NFL, coming back, making a statement. And now the Jets, they're home free. They're fine. They're fine. Everything's fine in Jets land.
Yankees
Roll it. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. Go on camera two. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. I'm James Cataldo, joined alongside me, Drake Dees and Mike Morano. We got a great show as always, but for tonight, we're kicking things off on a relatively serious note. Have you ever had true motivation to keep pushing in whatever you do in life? Maybe it's sports, school, or just a better person overall. Well, for Oswego State senior and golfer Dan Mort, he's driven by something that is subtle to many on the golf course, but to him is much more than meets the eye. Our very own Michael Morano got a chance to catch up with Dan and his emotional connection to Maureens Hope. Take a look.
Oswego senior Daniel Mort is cool, calm, and collected on the green. He's been playing golf his whole life, but what you may not see is what he keeps on his wrist, which is a reminder that has also been with him his whole life.
At least the gemstone bracelets were made by Maureens Hope. Maureens Hope is a non-for-profit founded by Suzanne Bertrand. They're a organization that helps kids with life-threatening illnesses.
Maureens Hope has been a big help to Daniel and his family. Daniel is someone who is directly impacted by these illnesses, whether it's his direct family members or his closest friends.
Well, my brothers actually have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a muscle disorder. And they've been affected by that their entire life, and we have many family friends. Some of my best friends have had childhood cancer.
Once Daniel's teammates heard about the bracelets, they wasted no time to join him and wore the bracelets in their next tournament.
You know, to bring in my whole team and to bring in, the whole athletics for our home tournament was really special. To see everybody out there wearing the beads and wearing the bracelets, kind of unifying us in a way other than just our school colors, it was really special.
In the end, Daniel is grateful for what Maureens Hope has done for his family, and he continues to remember everyone impacted by a life-threatening disease the only way he knows how.
With the Bertrands, and for many years they have helped my family through difficult times, and they've been there through the worst and through the best, and they're wonderful people, and they're a wonderful organization.
Michael Morano, WTOP 10.
A truly great story. Thanks, Dan, for opening up to us. Mike, great job on the story, too. From a truly inspirational guy in Dan. For more information on Maureens Hope, or if you have a loved one with a life-threatening illness, you can contact 315-243-6918 or go online to www.maureenshope.org. The Syracuse men's basketball team held their annual preseason media day this past Friday, and it was filled with a lot of great moments. Howard Washington, a sophomore guard out of Buffalo, returned to the Orange after having a stroke. And freshman standout Joe Girard, no, not Joe Girardi, don't get too excited, Mr. Mets fan over there.
I will get there.
Wore the iconic orange and white for the first time. But one of the biggest stories coming out of the Carmelo K. Anthony Center was that head coach Jim Boeheim said that every player on the roster has something to give to a team that's hopeful of making a run in the ACC and beyond.
I think it's important that any of these young guys could step in and do something. You really don't know until you get closer to game time, but they're all capable, very capable players.
Bo, I'll go to you. Do you think that Cuse's basketball team is legit? What should we watch out for in this coming year?
Listen, I'm a Syracuse fan myself, and I want to say that they're legit, but there's a lot of question marks coming around for them this year. They lost a lot of key players. They obviously lost Tyus Battle. They lost O'Shea Brissett. So there's two very big key components to basically your entire game plan gone right there. We got Jim Boeheim's son coming in, maybe going to step up and get a bigger role here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, get a little coach or father-son dynamic out there on the court.
It worked for Doc Rivers and his son, right?
Oh,
Did he trade him?
Yeah, that worked really well.
That worked really
didn't it?
well, yeah.
So yeah, I think it's kind of up in the air right now.
Well, overall, going up to 481, we'll see how the Cuse men's basketball team does this year, but going up 481 to Oswego for our Laker game of the week, the most wonderful time of the year is upon Oswego hockey fans, as the men's team will skate on home ice for the first time in 2019-2020 in a scrimmage against the Carleton Place Canadians. I know it's only preseason, Mike, but what are we expecting from them in this one, and who should we watch out for?
This season is probably one of the most important seasons with 14 seniors on the team. This is really your last chance with this squad, and you really can't waste any opportunities or chances that you have, because next year you're going to have a whole slate of new players, which could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It depends on really what chemistry you have here. One person you really need to watch out for here is Travis Broman. He's going to be your new leader next year. The guys, the seniors here, need to prep him to kind of take on that leadership role in the next coming season, because after this, he's going to be the sole guy from this team left.
Well, we'll see how the men's hockey team does. Again, they play the Carleton Place Canadians this Saturday, puck drop, 7 p.m. When we come back from the break, are the Texans legitimate Super Bowl contenders? And will the Astros use this momentum to make the World Series a dream reality? We'll break it down for you after the break. Stay tuned. Headline Hits and Talk of the Town are up next on OSU. Welcome back to OSU. Yesterday, the Houston Texans beat the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 31-24. The Chiefs looked flawed once again in their second straight loss, as they could not stop the Texans' run game. The Texans rushed for 192 yards in the victory as they moved to 4-2 on the year, maintaining first place in the AFC South. With this win over the powerhouse Chiefs, does this show how good the Texans are or how flawed the Chiefs are?
Really, a little bit of both here. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say the Texans are Super Bowl contenders. They're literally in a division with 3 other backup quarterbacks. Like, we got Gardner Minshew, as handsome as he is. Love Gardner. Love Minshew Mania. He's a backup quarterback. Jacoby Brissett. And then Marcus Mariota getting benched for Ryan Tannehill. That was a real thing that happened. So I'm not going to sit here and say that the Texans are Super Bowl contenders, but they did beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are, Deshaun Watson beat reigning MVP Patrick Mahomes. So there is a little bit of truth to this, but again, the Texans seem like they're just going to do one of their things where they win a really bad division and then a first-round knockout. So that's kind of what I'm expecting this season.
Well, Mike, I'll bounce this next question off you. Deshaun Watson went head-to-head with defending MVP Pat Mahomes on the road, obviously, like you said, and then he came out victorious. It was a great game. By the way, this catch by Tyreek Hill,
wonderful.
Incredible catch. But is Deshaun Watson an MVP candidate? I mean, he went 30 for 42 for 280 yards on the day. Is he an MVP candidate?
What?
What?
Is he an MVP candidate?
Overall, it's just a question. It's a question.
No! No! What?
I think he feels pretty strongly about that.
No. He's not an MVP candidate. I'm sorry. When you have guys like Russell Wilson and you have Run CMC Christian McCaffrey on this, I'm sorry. Deshaun Watson, there's a couple of things you have to take over that you have to see from this game, is that impressive win, impressive performance, I guess, but now the Chiefs look flawed. They look like they're in a skid right now. So, and it also just wasn't Deshaun Watson. You said before, the run game was just on point. The defense looked great. Deshaun Watson also threw 2 picks in the game as well. That doesn't seem MVP really caliber to me. So, no, to put it simply, no.
But well, yeah, I'd have to agree with him. I think there's just too many other good quarterbacks out in the league right now. Listen. No, I'm not going to say that. I was gonna say some outlandish stuff about Tom Brady. So I'm not.
He has an opportunity to.
He does, but I think that it's also realistic that he could win it. I mean, the things that he's been doing over the course of the last couple games. Granted, last game he got kind of back on the horse a little bit, but the last 2 games when they were playing the Bills did not look exactly the way I wanted to. We're looking a little shaky. Right now, the defense, I think, is keeping us afloat. So I would say Russell Wilson probably is going to be the candidate that they're looking for.
Yes,
but
sir.
I would have to agree with Mike there.
Regardless, it's going to be a really tight MVP race. Moving on to two former MVPs here. While the summer was full of blockbuster moves around the NBA, one of the biggest was Russell Westbrook moving to Houston Rockets to join former teammate James Harden. In their time apart, both players have acquired, like I said, multiple records and MVP awards. Bo, these two powerhouses are coming together. There's only one ball. Can it work?
So I really think that this all depends on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has clearly been the bigger ball hog of the two, and not necessarily due to any fault of his own. He's been playing on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have pretty much been a one-trick pony for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been Russell Westbrook. Paul George was there, and he was playing very well over the last 3 seasons, but I don't think that in terms of the impact that he was making on them, I don't think that he contributed as much to the, careful where I'm going, but failure of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I think when you're bringing Russell Westbrook in to play with James Harden, two guys who are notorious for holding their own, for
But I
holding
mean,
the
look
ball
at that
more. But,
beard, Bo.
I know.
I mean,
listen,
come
I
on.
got rid of mine, so I'm a little jealous. But I really think that it can work, but I think that James needs to shoot, and then Russ needs to drive. That's as simple as it is.
I think they could gel well together, and I don't know why I think so. I just think they know each other very well. I mean, they did play in OKC. The failure that Bo said, just out in the open.
Not that OKC, the other
failure. I think they gel well together. I think the issue was that back in OKC with the other two dynamic duo, Paul George and Russell Westbrook, was they didn't have a bench. They didn't have anyone else. It was just them two. I think the Rockets now have a deeper bench. And so I think that they might fare well a little better now. I think they really are championship contenders.
Talking about that Rockets bench, Mr. Flying Nine Fingers, the boy who blew out the cupcake in the slam dunk contest, Gerald Green has reportedly suffered a broken foot during the Rockets' preseason win against the Toronto Raptors in Japan. He is expected to miss the next couple of months while he's in recovery, 2 to 3 roughly. Gerald Green has been a solid player with the Rockets for a few seasons now, giving solid contributions from the bench. Bo, we were talking about that Rockets bench being really good. What does this mean for that team? It doesn't matter at all.
I don't really think so. Listen, I think the wow factor on Gerald Green hasn't really been there since
2010?
New Jersey Nets. New
Yeah,
Jersey
sure,
Nets catching that flying alley-oop. Yeah, so 2 years ago he was averaging 12 points a game. Last year he averaged 9.1. While that's a nice little boost, you can get that from almost any.
You're adding Westbrook.
Yeah, you're adding Westbrook, so you're going to get that from him. But then you can also get even another 9 points from any $12 million player in the league. If that, you could get it from a $9 million player. How much is JJ Redick getting paid? And he's making like 20 points a game, all from 3. I think that, I don't think that he's that big of a. You're not going to miss him that much. And I think the wow factor that he brought has kind of gone.
I think that Gerald Green windmill dunk. I actually heard that Gerald Green windmill dunk actually inspired a 9-year-old Kevin Durant to actually join the Nets when he was a child. So that's pretty heartwarming to me.
I didn't hear that one, but okay.
We'll see how the loss of Gerald Green impacts the Rockets. When we come back, we hit you with Houston for the headline hits. Now we got Talk of the Town, Houston style, coming up only on OSU. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to OSU. The New York Yankees and Houston Astros played in one of the great ALCS matchups when they won 11 innings last night. Aaron Judge provided the lone 2 runs on the night for the Bronx Bombers, and the Astros got a boost from George Springer and a walk-off home run from Carlos Correa off J. Happ in the 11th inning. Heartbreaker if you're a Yankees fan. It was a great game that saw the series between the two AL powerhouses tied at 1 apiece in the series. What were your overall thoughts on the game, guys?
It was a great game. But again, I feel like a lot of weaknesses came out from both teams here. I think the Astros are relying way too much on their starting pitching. It's happened with Zach Greinke, and I think that I said before, the biggest hurdle for the Yankees is their starting pitching. I understand it was great, but they got to be able to take them deep in these games because they're playing the Astros. Okay, this isn't no minor league team. This is the Houston Astros. You got to be able for every person in that bullpen to kind of provide as much help as you can. And in the 11th inning, it just wasn't enough. So again, The Yankees look great, but again, their starting pitching continues to be their biggest hurdle.
Yeah, I think obviously, when you're playing the Houston Astros and you're going to go up against Justin Verlander, you know what you're going up against every night. You're going up against a top caliber pitcher, a once in a generation talent. So even if you are a solid contact hitting team like the Yankees have been this season, with nice additions of runs here and there, like we saw from Aaron Judge last night, I think that you really have to kind of work it a little bit, and I think they did it to the best of their ability last night.
Put a thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Exactly. That's exactly.
I understand exactly what I was saying.
But anyway, I think that the way they handled themselves with what they were given. I mean, in all reality, they didn't hit all that bad last night. They were getting on base. It was just a matter of getting people home.
Right.
Well, and that decision to send DJ home was also not ideal as well.
Well, obviously the ball was in between the second baseman and the shortstop when he was sent around third base. What surprised you, maybe other than the fact that they sent LeMahieu home on that play, what surprised you and what were you expecting that actually happened in that game?
I think what surprised me the most was how not ready the Astros were in Game 1. I mean, that's something that surprised me the most, that their offense was completely shut down. Like, they had no way. They were held with one hit for a while against Tanaka. They were just, the offense wasn't clicking. Zach Greinke just certainly wasn't clicking, but he just hasn't been good really all postseason. I think the Astros kind of came into this one barely by the skin of their teeth against the Rays, and it showed because they just weren't ready against the Yankees. The Yankees swept through the Twins, so it was really lopsided to begin with. I don't think the Astros were ready for that.
Yeah, I think the Astros coming into Game 1 definitely seemed a little shell-shocked. That was a really tough series that they had fought coming through the Rays, and especially since the Yankees did get that easy walkthrough, like you just so eloquently said.
I try that. I try to do that.
At any time when you come off of a tough series and then you're moving into a team, both these teams are huge
powerhouses.
Powerhouses. That's the word I'm looking for.
Powerhouses over here.
Exactly. So whenever you're coming off of a hard-fought series, even if you are that big powerhouse, you're gonna have a little bit of a slug come into it. But it seemed like they kind of got their feet under them a little bit last night.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that both teams are gonna collide really well here. I think that their starting pitching, both teams just need to be on point here. Judge can't really be. It seems like Judge is really the sole provider. He was against Game 2. You can't have that. I think Stanton just can't stay healthy. And if Stanton's in that lineup, he creates a big boost. His injuries have just been so bad for this team, and I think with him in the lineup, it's a big difference maker.
So obviously we have the difference makers, then we have difference maker, a great one. Correa's walk-off home run there over Happ, which we were talking about a little earlier. Does that give them the momentum swing going back to Game 3 in Yankee Stadium? Who really has the momentum? Who has the advantage going to Yankee Stadium? Why?
James. The New Yorkers got the advantage. I mean, you got the New Yorkers in the crowd, you got the New Yorkers in the field, man. What's better than that? Guys being dudes, as some would say.
There's nothing better than that. I think I'm going to say it a little bit differently, but I agree. I think the Yankees have the advantage coming in now because you're headed back to the Bronx, and New York is classically one of the hardest places to play. And you're going.
Even though we get the short porch comments all the time.
All right, listen, I can't comment on that. All right, I'm from Fenway.
You have a pretty short right field yourself.
That's fine.
But you got a big wall.
That's true. We do have a big
left
wall.
field.
But yeah, no, I think if you're coming into Yankee Stadium, who's got the advantage? The home team. It's kind of as simple as that.
It's a completely different atmosphere to play in, and I think the Yankees are just going to ride from the atmosphere they played in the divisional series, and just going to keep going with that. So I mean, it was electric. I mean, the crowd was in it, even chanting Uber. As they saw before here. I mean, they really get into the players' heads.
So I'm going to tell you why you're both wrong, right? And it's honestly, because I'm a Yankees fan, right? And so I understand this, but I'm going to tell you why you're both wrong. And that's because for at least Game 3, I would say that tomorrow night, for at least Game 3, when Garrett Cole hits the rubber against Luis Severino, I think it's going to be all Astros just for Game 3. Just for the simple fact that we haven't seen Luis Severino a lot this regular season, let alone put him in a playoff situation. We haven't seen him in the playoffs a lot to begin with. Right? And now you're expecting him to go up against Garrett Cole, who's probably going to win the AL Cy Young. I hand Game 3 to the Astros, but I give 4 and 5 to the Yankees. They have a lead going back to Houston 3-2.
Severino is a big risk. I do agree with that.
So you do talk about that big risk. A guy like Severino, is he the X factor? Who is the X factor going into this home game?
The biggest X factor, Gleyber Torres. You know how old he is?
He's only 22.
He's got 22. That's 2-2s. That should have been my most surprising thing, was that Gleyber Torres is 22. I mean, yeah, no, Gleyber Torres, I think, is the biggest X factor in this one because he drove in 5 runs in game 1. I mean, without him, that's a whole lot of runs you're missing out on. The kid's just been electric in the playoffs, and like we saw before, he didn't really provide that much in game 2, and it showed, you know? So I think with him not producing as much in game 2, if he can't do it in game 3, the Astros are going to jump all over that and take as much advantage of that as possible.
Well, to come off of what you just said, I don't think the X factor is a player. I think the X factor is the home. I think whichever home team can jump on their home advantage right now, and right now it's the Astros, I think right now that's their X factor.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. The Yankees obviously going up against the Astros tomorrow night at home. We'll see what happens. Moving from one New York team to another when we come back. Mike, you want to take this one away?
When we come back, after firing Mickey Callaway, the New York Mets are looking for a new manager. Will it be Carlos Beltran?
Maybe.
Alex Rodriguez?
Maybe.
Or Joe Girardi? Any way you look at it, it'll probably be a former Yankee of some sort, which I'm cool with. Get my take on it when we come back. Back after this. Here's a scenario for you. You have a job interview coming up, you're so excited, you think, man, this job is perfect for me. And you check off every requirement this job has for you, and then some. I mean, you got the experience, you've worked in this kind of environment before, you have great success in that environment, you even have high-level position employees endorsing you to the people who are hiring, saying that you'd be a perfect fit for this job, and you just think you're a shoo-in for this. And then you realize your competition, which is the boss's son, who has no prior experience, does not fill out any of the check marks this job is looking for, and now you think, well, my chances are kind of dwindling here, right? Isn't it a shame that connections are valued more than actual skill nowadays? What I'm talking about, obviously, is the New York Mets managing position that has yet to be filled. They have the perfect candidate in Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi is a former player, check, who has experience in managing a team, check, and not just that, he has experience managing a team in New York, check, for nearly a decade. He knows the market, he knows the media, he knows the atmosphere more than anything, and he has done the one thing the Mets have failed to do in the past 30 years, and that is bring a championship to New York. I actually don't understand how you're not lining up to his door and offering him a contract right away. But no, we need to consider the boss's son in this story, Carlos Beltran. Sure, Beltran was a great Met and will probably go in as a Hall of Fame as a Met, and apparently his connections with the Mets front office runs deep as well. But you know what else he's famous for? Striking out looking and the bases loaded in Game 7 of the NLCS. And if I take a look at all the front office managerial experiences Carlos Beltran has, he's got one. He was a special advisor to the New York Yankees. You know who else is a special advisor? David Wright. How come he isn't in the conversation for any of this? If the Mets hire Carlos Beltran, this makes the firing of Mickey Callaway seem so useless, that Mickey Callaway would actually be a better fit than Carlos Beltran, and I don't even know how that's possible. Why would you fire a man who had no prior experience beforehand to another man who actually has less experience? At least Callaway was a pitching coach. It would be such a step in the wrong direction, and the fact that the Mets may lose on Joe Girardi, who is actually interested in the job, is actually, quite frankly, the Mets thing to do. Thank you for watching OSU, and tune in next week when we go back to our Talk of the Town for next week, Washington.
In a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do.